I still got to talk to you, Mark, about that phone call, though, man. There was still so much to it, and literally, it was so hard to try to get information in because you're like, this is the first time you're meeting this person, and you're both trying to shoot the shit and get to know each other. To it.
All right, here we go.
All right, hold on, I got to share it. You got photos or something you're going to show?
All right, we are good. All right, we are good.
Okay, hold on, guys. Give me a second. I'm trying to share it. For some reason, it always, since I'm a host of the page, when I share it, it literally always like tries to share it to StormCrow itself instead of my own page. So hold on. All right, I think that did it. No. There you go. All right, you guys, thanks a lot for joining us. This is, we are in double digits now, man. Episode 10. Episode 10 of StormCrow Dreamers Talking to Dreamers. Oh, my lordy. It's been an amazing journey so far. I want to thank, as always, Mark Potter, my co-host, who's also my first AD on Blade and Blood. We have some exciting news on that front as well. And then, of course, Lola, our little cute mascot. And of course, my name is Glasscock, if you didn't know that already. And this has been a great journey. It's been a lot. We're still growing. We're still working. I think this year we're going to be shooting my first feature, Blade and Blood. And during the whole production, we will still try to every Thursday come and do this show, but we'll probably be doing guests of cast and crew from that film while we're shooting the film, because I think that would be interesting. But we're glad to have you right now. Eventually, we might have sponsors. This would be the point in time where I would push our sponsors' business or products. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to hit up Mark and message him, and he'll help you out with that. Again, this is StormCrow Dreamers talking to dreamers, talking to artists all around the world. We've had people in England, we've had people in the West US, East US, Canada, I think, all sorts of places. And we'll keep doing all of that. I remember our English guest had to wake up at like 3 something in the morning to do our show. You know, Faith Elizabeth. So she was a trooper. But anyway, so let's bring in our guests. Who would you like to bring in first?
Let's bring in LIntu Holmen.
Okay, you guys, amazing, award-winning makeup effects artist for film, a beautiful girl inside out. Let's welcome LIntu Holmen. Hey, LIntu.
Oh, hello.
Hello. You're looking beautiful as always.
Oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome. It's funny because this woman, if you're not familiar with, if you look at all her photos, she goes from like punk goddess to like where she is now with the glasses and look like she belongs in like reading books and stuff like that. To the next thing you'll see her in like tats everywhere, and then you'll see her like creating wounds on that literally look like someone got their arm gashed open. Mercurial chameleon is what we would like to say in her art form and in her spirit. So let's bring in our other guest, amazing indie filmmaker who's been doing it for quite a long time. Let's bring in Roger Hill. Hey, Roger.
Hi. How are you?
There are two amazing guests tonight, both very talented. In this first half of the show, for our audience at home, our fans, or people that are going to watch this later recorded, and they haven't seen it before, we spend the first half of the show talking to both of our guests about current projects they're doing, or recent projects, or projects upcoming that they're excited about. Then we'll take a little 5-minute break, and then second half is more of a Bill Maher kind of the original one, not the new one, politically incorrect, kind of just talk about life and get everyone's thoughts on that. But let's jump right into it. We'll start with Roger. What is a project either you're currently working on or that you recently just finished that you're super excited about?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, first of all. So I'm the
you're welcome.
writer-director of a new film called Huckleberry. And Huckleberry premiered in October in a few different film festivals, and is currently, we're weighing distribution options. And, you know,
It's a short film or feature?
No, it's a feature. And
cool.
It's
although nowadays Huckleberry, like in tongues, when I was a kid, Huckleberry only meant one thing: Huckleberry Finn. You know,
yeah, that's true. It's so it's set in the late '90s, and I don't know if you remember that movie Tombstone with
no, and that was where I was going to go next. I go,
Val Kilmer.
That movie came out, all of a sudden Huckleberry, I'll be your Huckleberry.
Right. And
Say when. I've written several poems using that exact phrasing as an ode because that was such a brilliant film.
Exactly.
Kilmer nailed that role.
So the film is set in the late
Wade, who at the exact same time was trying to do that same role in the Kevin Costner version, and they just got obliterated by Val Kilmer and what's his name, Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell, right? Yeah, so it's more to do with the line, the sort of old timey saying, "I'll be your Huckleberry," which is I actually use it for the trailer. It's the text that leads off the trailer. I don't know if that's going to be linked somewhere, but
I'm sure Mark will put it during the break.
Yeah.
Right. So,
what's the premise of the piece?
So it's a coming of age teenage love story. It deals with revenge and real kind of angsty film. So Huckleberry is in love with Jolene, and Jolene is her boyfriend Clint is abusive. Huckleberry gives in to some dark impulses and goes on a pretty elaborate revenge plot against Clint in an attempt to win Jolene's heart and vanquish his romantic rival. So that's about what the film is about. And you know, like
what is it rated?
The consequence is sort of what fills the back half of the film. Some sort of unexpected and unintended consequences.
So the first half is the revenge, and the second half is the aftermath.
Yeah, pretty much. And you know, there's another plot kind of simmering under the surface against Huckleberry.
Because you have to have over and under plots, man.
Yeah, of course. And so that is, it's kind of left to be a bit of a mystery that you know, we the audience, we're with Huckleberry on his journey, but we're left to sort of fill in the gaps about you know, what happens sort of in turn after he sort of opens the faucet of.
Well, when we finish this, Mark will add on the video links to work and stuff like that, so people that are interested in either of your work can follow it and find more out about you. But I remember, now didn't your claim to fame, you started off doing documentaries, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I did documentary. I started doing it in college 15, 16 years ago, whatever it was. I did a documentary in 2004 called Struggle. It was about the 2004 presidential election. Specifically, it was about voter suppression and election rigging in the.
So nothing's changed.
Yeah, right, exactly. Especially if what happened in Georgia recently. Yeah, so it was a bit of a precursor.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the whole Clinton sabotaging Sanders thing, man. That was like about as voter suppressed as you could get.
Yeah.
Let's have debates on the March Madness playoffs. But no, definitely. And that's an interesting. I'm sure you would at least master the handheld shaky.
Right. Yeah, it was very much that kind of film. It was very much show up with your camera, start talking.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant tool. I think handheld, it can be a brilliant tool. I think it's overused way too much on films. I think if there's a reason, whether it be a fight sequence or your POV or something like that, I think it's a very useful tool, and it's a good thing to become skilled at.
Yeah, and it's not all handheld. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a lot of sit-down interviews. Sorry. Go ahead. There's plenty of sit-down interviews in it too, but like you said, it adds that sort of dynamic first-person feel to it. My last documentary, which screened in over 40 film festivals, I think, is called Flying Paper. And
wow, that's a whole heck of a lot of money for submissions, man.
No, not really. Actually, once it was in about 10 festivals, they started contacting us. So.
Oh, very beautiful. I think my friend Alfred J. Hemlock was like that.
Yeah, we didn't. I mean, we
the horror that started getting the invites just because they kept placing or whatever in several of them.
Yeah.
Now, LIntu, let's get to you. What is a current or recent project that you've done? Now, I think I've seen some of it where you like have people bloody and dying and gashed on the floor. But if you didn't hear me on the intro, LIntu is an award-winning effects makeup artist for film. So, and her work is amazingly realistic, man. So go ahead.
Yeah, so right now I'm actually teaching makeup effects for a school called the Georgia Film Academy, and we have a location down at Pinewood Studios in Atlanta, and then we also have one at a place called OFS, which is where they filmed the new Bad Boys movie. The waterfall scene for Black Panther was filmed there. Really, really big backlot.
So you're just a hop, skip, and a jump from me and Mark.
Yeah, it's a little bit far, but you know it's worth it.
Hey, it's closer than LA is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, North Texas to Atlanta.
What's that?
I said North Texas to Atlanta. That's a lot closer than North Texas to Los Angeles.
For sure, yeah. Although the weather is better in LA for sure. Can't knock that. But yeah, so I'm teaching right now, and then I work in a makeup effects shop as well. Sometimes I just help run some prosthetics for Skull Asylum, which is a shop down here for the new Dr. Sleep movie, which is a sequel to The Shining. And I helped with some of that, and then we do some work in that shop.
They're doing a sequel to The Shining?
Yeah. I mean,
here's Johnny.
Yeah, they just released all the information about it and everything. It's the same shop that did work for Haunting of Hill House.
Are they dusting off Jack Nicholson or what?
Fell off. They're reshooting it in Georgia where it's super cold right now, so it's perfect.
They're pulling off the cobwebs off Jack Nicholson and like shoving him over there or what?
Yeah, basically. So yeah, they're doing that. Always so much stuff going in Atlanta right now, but I focus mainly on teaching right now. I teach 2 days a week, and I teach college students, which is really weird because I'm a college professor now, and I'm 27. So, but I've been doing makeup for.
Hey, skill trumps almost anything. Like I didn't even have a high school diploma because I was already living on my own. I was like renting a couch from 3 potheads, man, pot dealers. But I've now like what 3 or 4 times now been a guest speaker at universities on creative writing. So I always find the irony of that very funny. But skill trumps almost everything else. So especially when you're talking film schools, or you're talking universities with a focus on film or art or creative pursuits. It behooves them to bring in high skilled people that have actually done it. Students relate to that better when you actually have accolades and actually applicable experience knowledge. I would rather have that any day if I'm going to a class, someone that's done it, been there, won awards for it, stuff like that, than I would someone that has a master's degree but has never done it.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like me being able to give my experiences on set and stuff like that to students and kind of give them like real world like knowledge and stuff like that really helps.
I just think practical knowledge trumps book knowledge any day of the week, man.
Absolutely, yeah. And my students, you know, the Georgia Film Academy kind of is what teaches, like, it's not just telling you like, oh, how you use a camera is XYZ. They actually make you do things like and learn about the film industry, and like it's all hands-on stuff. So some of my students may not want to pursue makeup effects, but at least they'll go into the industry knowing how the makeup department works. And I think that that's really special. And they do that with lighting and electric, grip, PA, everything, so that everyone has that knowledge before they get on set. So I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's good. I don't really follow that thing just because my head's already full of so much stuff, and I want to allow my experts to be experts on those things. Mm-hmm. So even though I'll design my own frames and lighting, I allow the gaffers to understand all the tech of it, man. I just know what I want and then let them utilize their expertise. Because I've watched interviews of people that work with Rodriguez, who literally does everything. Mm-hmm. Like, really grabs the camera from the DP, shoots it all himself. Like, literally grabs the lights out of the gaffer's hand, does it all himself. And those guys look so sad and forlorn, man. They're like,
I mean, I love it though.
Like, God, dude, do we do anything around here? We're just twiddling our thumbs, man. Rodriguez is just jumping all over the place, doing everything.
I love it. Like, I did
excited when he just asked them to hold a light for a second.
Yeah, when I worked for Tyler Perry, he's one of those people that's very like chaotic and running around like crazy, and I love him to death. He's brilliant, really. Because he can make. We did Boo 2 in a week. And
who?
So we did the movie Boo 2, Medea. So, but we, you know, Tyler shot it in a week. So everything was super fast paced, like, I mean, 14-hour days, overnights every night. But he had, you know, the whole train running just exactly how he wanted it. And I love that. I love things going fast, people not wasting my time. Like, I love that kind of stuff. That's my favorite.
No, I hear you. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's good when everything's movement and you're brought in. And I think the key is just respecting everybody's time.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think in a lot of, especially if you're talking studio films, in a lot of studio films, they really don't respect most people's time. Mm-hmm. It's all about their time. And like they'll bring people like, oh, we don't need them till 6 p.m. Oh, bring them at 10 a.m. because just in case. Yeah. It's like, okay, dude, you don't want us to sit around for 8 hours twiddling our thumbs. So I you know, let's just all know not be Fincher. Let's all not be Fincher. Let's all promise to not be Fincher and shoot the same thing 80 times. Because I would like literally shoot myself if I had to do that. But you know, back to, you know, one of my main beliefs is there is 1,000 roads to Damascus. So there is 1,000 ways of doing almost everything, and you got to make it your own, and you got to be the captain of your road. And the only thing I would say is just try to always like respect everybody else's artistry, whether it be your catering, your crafty guy's artistry, because there's artistry there, or your background artists, or whatever it is. Just respect everyone's time. But let's get back to Roger. Roger, what is a upcoming project that you are intensely passionate about? And again, if you need effects and you got a budget, you can talk to LIntu over here.
Well, you know, it's kind of the curse of the indie filmmaker is I need to, you know, pay off my last one before I can really go gung-ho on my next one. You know, my dream is to just hand off the film and like get instantly into production on the next film, but it's not really.
Oh, but you're trying to deal with distribution and stuff like that yourself?
I am, but I am writing some new stuff. I'm working on a short documentary right now that I'm editing. So I mean, I'm keeping busy, but you know, I haven't like really like broken ground yet on like another like notable project like Huckleberry or like.
Hey, it happens sometimes, man. Like I stopped. The last thing I shot was like over a year ago because I was just kind of overdoing shorts and I'm trying to focus on doing a feature. So sometimes you got to take those gaps to make those leaps, I guess, would be one way of doing it.
Yeah, and I'm just focusing on like doing my due diligence and not, you know, sort of selling myself short, you know, because it's very like critical in the lifeblood of a movie right now.
Yeah, and you have a feature, so you need to push that feature.
Exactly. So, you know, I'm having fun with some of the promotional stuff. I just cut a 1-minute trailer, you know, just he's kind of getting into more of like the business angle and trying to like put my energy and my creative talent.
Is that the one where you're in the hula skirt and you like do your dance across the screen? And
Yeah, you saw it. Yeah.
yeah.
Anything for those
For audience out there, I'm kidding. He doesn't have a
anything for those
doesn't do a
Kickstarter
hula
pledges,
dance across the screen.
you got to keep the Kickstarter pledges happening. But
so
no,
you're trying to focus on your feature right now before you step into something else.
yeah, I mean, other than like some small editing stuff here or there. But yeah,
Is that how you make a living? Is editing other people's stuff?
I do okay. I do a lot of stuff for making a living. I do a lot of freelance editing. Yes, I do event photography. I do event video. Just finishing editing a wedding.
Yeah, anything that allows you to make a living and still incorporate something that you love is good.
As long as there's a tertiary relationship to filmmaking, I'm all for it. So yeah, that's kind of where I am right now.
So people, you guys out there that need a bat mitzvah photographer,
Call me.
hit Roger.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. Roger's a very talented guy. He wouldn't be on the show if he wasn't. So as I said before, we're going to have links that you can follow to his work, and probably you can probably follow it to some of his previous work as well. Now, LIntu, same question to you. What is a future project you are super passionate and excited about? And don't tell me about the you're ready, choose you, ready to go back on tour. Coach, let me back in.
Yeah. The thing is one of the projects that I'm about to start working on, I'm actually under NDA for, and I can't even talk about it, which is, the curse of this industry too, that I can't.
Hey, there's only like a zillion really small people that almost look like zero. They're going to be listening to this, man.
Yeah, but if that one person listens,
it'll be some kind of hater that'll just like track you down. Are you doing effects on this project?
What's up?
Are you doing effects on this project? Like, is that what you're getting hired for? Is doing effects?
Yeah. So I do on-set work, like applying makeup and doing stuff like that too. But my passion is shop work. So mold making, running silicone, running foam latex. That's my passion.
Oh, okay. So you're talking like full monster or whether it be chopped heads or whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I like practical effects. On Blade and Blood, we're going to be trying, our budget's going to be so tight, we're trying to stay away from practical effects. So we're going to be doing a lot of that kind of 300, Spartacus Blood and Sand, kind of post-blood effects, a lot of shadow lighting.
Yeah.
It's a much faster, inexpensive way of doing it.
Yeah, I'm not one of those makeup artists who's against CG by any means. And honestly, I feel like it works really well in conjunction with makeup effects. So when people are like, oh, we're going to use some CG, don't get offended.
Well, I think it depends on the film. I think it depends on whether it fits that film. We're doing a very graphic, novelty, noir, kind of comic booky kind of film, so it fits that. If I was doing like a straight up like Tarantino Western, then having a bunch of post special effects probably wouldn't really fit very well, which is why Tarantino is a deep lover of practical effects. He is like the king master of wanting everything, whether it be car crashes or heads being chopped off. He pretty much, I don't even want to know his budget on practical effects per movie. It's got to be insanely high.
Honestly, I feel like that's like half of what has kept K&B in business is like Quentin Tarantino and The Walking Dead. Like both of those things. I've been like,
yeah, I mean, because he loves, well, but you gotta understand, he loves those 70s grainy car chase.
Oh yeah, I love
Easy Rider, whatever. He loves that era of filmmaking. That's his genre. That's his thing. That's why he gave us that dual thing with Rodriguez, paying ode to it. I liked his one. I didn't like Rodriguez's one very much, but because I think they took two different takes on it. Like Tarantino totally went like serious. I'm going to write a great film with Death Proof. That was his. I'm going to write like a really intense Tarantino dark film. And then Rodriguez went, I'm going to write a spoofy, campy, whatever, zombie, whatever.
They're both great in each way, though. Like, they're so different, but they're so good.
Don't believe me, I love Rodriguez, but like Rodriguez can be very hit and miss with me. You know what I mean? Like he makes stuff like Sin City and Desperado and stuff that I think is brilliant, whether it be cinematography or whatever. But then he'll do stuff like Lava Boy and Lava Girl and whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, I was not a fan.
Although he said he made that for his kids, but he likes campy too. I would say, in my opinion, in those kind of genres, Del Toro and Tarantino are probably one of the more consistent as far as they consistently. Like another hit and miss for me is the Coen brothers. I usually either love their stuff or I get bored to death by it. So
right.
Everybody has their flavor. Like Fargo, I couldn't get through. Everybody, a lot of people loved Fargo, which is why it was and all that.
Dry for me.
Huh?
It was too dry. I couldn't watch it.
Yeah, like I literally was taking mini naps through it. You know what I mean? So,
just for the record.
Yeah, but then people love it too. I mean, I thought No Country for Old Men was brilliant all the way through. I thought that was a brilliant film. The Big Lebowski is, to me, the best comedy ever made.
Oh yeah. Hands down.
In fact, I do because my upcoming film is post-apocalyptic, so I do a spoof where one of the characters go, "Remember that film you had me watch from back in the day, Mr. Ladowski? The rug really tied the room together, dude." And so I think that film is brilliant, and I can't believe I never understood about Hollywood, but we'll talk about that in the second half because I want your guys' opinion on that. And I just thought of it. It'll be a great subject matter that since we're all film, sometimes I just have writer or book writers or other thing, but we can talk about that in the second half. Now let's do this before we go on a break. I'll start with LIntu this time because I keep starting with Roger and then I'll go to Roger. LIntu, what is your dream project you would just like have an immediate orgasm if you had the opportunity to do it?
That's actually not that hard to think about. Anything, I would love to work on anything for Guillermo del Toro. Anything.
For Del Toro?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's because there's going to be a crap ton of creatures in it.
Exactly. Actually, on my wall, I have a signed Pan's Labyrinth poster. It's signed by Doug Jones. And
I tell everybody if they want to know noir lighting to watch Pan's Labyrinth. That is a master class in noir lighting.
Oh, it is for makeup effects as well. And the fact that Doug Jones plays almost all the characters in the creatures is incredible. But the makeup effects in that's what I tell my students. I'm like,
yeah, a lot of people say that he won the Oscar for The Color of Water because he didn't win it for Pan's Labyrinth, which he should have done.
Yeah.
But the new kid on the block, when Pan's Labyrinth came out, he was like the new guy, the new director. And Hollywood's changed a lot in the last 25 years, but back in those days, there was no way in hell they were going to give a brand new director Best Director Oscar. There's just no way that Hollywood back then would ever do that.
Right.
So a lot of people think Color of Water, which I think was good, but it's not as strong and nowhere near Pan's Labyrinth, that he won because he got stiffed on Pan's Labyrinth and he should have won for that.
I thought it was a beautiful, beautiful movie and the makeup was incredible in it.
Color of Water, yeah. I mean, but all of Del Toro's stuff, cinematography-wise, is brilliant. I mean, that's his thing. I mean, it's just like usually writing-wise, Tarantino stuff is always going to be, thought-provoking.
Right.
But so anything Del Toro. Okay, so Del Toro, if you ever watch this,
I'm sure.
help LIntu out and let her do some work on your next film.
Yes.
And one of these days, maybe I'll even know you and I'll mention it to you, Mr. Del Toro. I'll be saying, Mr. Glasscock says,
Lintu's your girl. Go with Lintu.
Okay. And now, Roger, what would be the dream of dreams for you?
Well, I guess sort of sticking with the theme of, who we'd like to work with the most. I'd love to work with Jordan Peele and learn from him. I think he's doing amazing things as far as.
I'm not familiar with some of his films.
Get Out. He has another one coming out. I think it's called Us.
Wait, Get Out wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, it was
like a few years ago?
Yeah, it was Academy Award nominated last year. And I think he's doing amazing things as far as like redefining the horror genre, as far as like making it more politically relevant and with deeper meanings as far as like examining society and that kind of stuff goes.
Well, I thought the original Purge did that too, the first one.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure there's a bunch, but I think that genre has become very, everyone loves their.
But anytime we do
fiction, but
work,
for me personally, I like
honors that are going to like try to replicate it.
Right.
Although, you know what? Since City's use of black and white and color, when I came out, I thought I'd be seeing 100 more films in the next 3 years try to do that. And I didn't really see much. I was like, wow. Like when Sin City came out, the whole use of color and lips coming into color, or eyes coming into color and everything black and white. I'm like, it was so innovative at the time. Pleasantville had tried it a little bit, but in a different way. It was like, color and half black and white or whatever.
Or Schindler's List with the girl in red, that sort of
thing. And so they had tried it before, but I thought Sin City had finally like made it an art form. You know what I mean? Because the subtlety with which they used it instead of like more over the top. Like
I think it was free to explore that space because it was based on a graphic.
I'm sorry?
I think because it was based on a graphic novel, they were a little more bold in their. I believe it was based on a graphic novel.
Yeah, although I don't think in the graphic novel in like they did. I don't know if they did.
Right, but I think they were more bold. They were more free to make bold decisions as far as the look of the film.
Yeah, I mean, and you had Frank Miller's input as well. So who wrote it and is a brilliant graphic novel writer.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, like my dream gig is like fully funded with like distribution in place and a good script.
Very beautiful, man.
Creative control.
Mark, what's your dream job, buddy?
My dream job is finally kicking this thing off, and then getting my
What'd you say? Your dream job is taking your clothes off? Hey, man.
No. My dream job would be kicking Blade and Blood off, and then we go into the script that I wrote with my girlfriend, and then getting my book into a movie.
When you guys get married, I gotta be like in the groom group.
He said he's gonna be in the groom group.
Anyway, because you guys, if you didn't know, Mark and his significant other are both my first and second AD on Blade and Blood. So, but anyway, okay. So what we're gonna do, you guys, is we're gonna take a short break because I think this second half, especially because of the subject matter I want to bring up, at least one of the subjects that I referenced a second ago, it's going to go a little longer than this first half. So we're going to cut this first half a little bit early, take a 5-minute break, and then come back and we'll do the round table. And do you have your question, Mark?
Yeah.
Question?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not convinced, but you got 5 minutes to think of one. All right. This is Mark's thing. He comes up with one of the questions for the second half. But you can't replicate because last time you replicated something we talked about before. But I'll give you guys a hint, Lintu and Roger. The question I always ask every guest, and usually I don't give them a heads up about it unless they watch the episode. But right after the break, I'll ask each one of you what is the best film you've seen in the last 2 years and what genre was it and why you thought it was and all that kind of stuff. So I'll give you 5 minutes to ponder that answer. But you guys, you are watching StormCrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers. Keep dreaming. We'll be back in 5. Say bye, Lola. Say see you in 5. See you in 5. Okay, you guys, you got 5. And then run the reel for Roger. All right, Mark, LIntu, you guys ready? And the question I'm going to get into, give you guys a heads up, is the complete genre bias of the Oscars, where like you don't ever see comedies, sci-fi, any of those types of films ever win Best Picture. If it's not like a drama, King's Speech type thing, it's not even registered as even having a chance. And I just actually Googled it. I said, what comedies have ever won Best Picture, and literally it says no comedies have. The closest they could get was a couple heavy, dramatic, romantic that kind of like Annie Hall that had two pieces to it. So I just wanted to make sure, because I was just going off the top of my head on that, and then I just verified it. That really, doesn't happen. But anyway,
All right.
so we can talk about possibly examples probably should have won that year, and they didn't. But anyway, are we ready to come back in, Mark?
Yep,
Let me know.
We're back.
We're back. Okay. Welcome back, guys. For those of you that are going to watch this later, it's been a great show with great guests. As always, big thanks to my co-host, Mark Potter, and big thanks to Lola, our little mascot. Anyway, we're going to start with this, and we'll start with Roger on this one. Roger, what is the best film you have seen in the last 2 years, and what genre was it, and why did you think it was so good?
Well, I already talked about Get Out, so I think I'll use another one now. You know, I really enjoyed First Reformed. I thought that was like a really...
No, what was it again? Because your volume's a little low.
Apologies. First Reformed with starring Ethan Hawke.
I'm not familiar.
So it's a very like old, you know, it's kind of a film you expect to see made in like the 70s, where, you know, like filmmakers really had control of their projects and could bring, you know, really like unique, brilliant scripts all the way, you know, to market. So I mean, it's every scene is a metaphor, basically. It asks a lot of like really important questions about dominion versus dominion in the point of like, are humans here to serve God's interest by taking care of the planet, or is the planet here to serve humans? So this sort of radical character also happens to be a priest who's, you know.
Wait, so what's the name of it again?
It's called First Reformed.
First Reform?
Yeah, First Reformed.
So you should, hey, Mark, write that in the comments. Check out First Reform with Ethan Hawke.
Yeah. So, you know, I thought that was a really, I mean, off the top of my head, I thought that was a really amazing film.
So what was amazing about it? The writing, the acting, the directing?
Yeah, right. It's a very stark movie. Huckleberry's kind of stark too, which might be why I liked it. The writing is brilliant. I mean, there's not a word in this film that doesn't like serve a purpose. And I feel like every scene is rich with metaphor and you know, allegory, and especially like, you know, religious subtext to environmental activism. So it's really a brilliant film. And like I said, it's one that I don't think gets made too often these days. So that's my answer.
You know what I thought was a brilliant film? In the writing, a very different genre, but the writing, I thought all the dialogue was very poignant and had a lot of hidden stuff, was Zombieland, or is that what it was? Zombieland with Woody Harrelson?
Yep.
Yeah, there was a lot of comedic stuff to it, but like if you actually listen to all the actual dialogue, there's a lot of great writing in it.
Yeah.
And very not wasted words. There was no superfluous words. It was very cutting edge, popping. At the time, I mean, then they overplayed it everywhere on every cable channel over and over and over again. But when it came out, especially the Bill Murray stuff, man, I thought that was hilarious. But okay, so LIntu, what about you?
Well, just to add on to your Zombieland thing, it's funny because they're filming the second one at the studio that I work at right now. So
they're filming everything at your studio, everything, man. They're like pulling the cobwebs off Jack Nicholson, and he's going to start saying, I'm Johnny, hello, this is Johnny.
Well, yeah, they're filming.
And then now all of a sudden, like they're doing now, like Zombieland 2. Hey, please tell me Woody Harrelson's in it.
Yeah, so it's all the original cast is back in it, and they're...
Oh, wait, no, it can't, because there was the one fat person in the beginning that dies as he's talking about fat people died first. Yep. So I don't think that person will be in it.
Yeah, he didn't make it. But all the original main living talent is back. Other than that, so yeah, it'll be pretty cool. But
What about the grandmother who got best kill?
I don't know if she's coming back. I think that was a headshot. So
Yeah, like where she got like award for best kill, right? Like the piano and stuff.
the clown might be coming back. I don't know.
Yeah, that would be awesome to have the grandma back in, like top her kill creativity.
Yeah, but I think for my like personal favorite movie that I've seen, and this might be a little bit weird, but Mother with Jennifer Lawrence was incredible.
I didn't see it, but I mean, I've heard the critics and I've heard a lot of people say it was very powerful.
It was very powerful. It was very disturbing. It's, for fans of movies like The Fountain and stuff like that too, but it's definitely more suspense. And the plot twist in it was very strange for me as well, because it's kind of got like a religious backing to it.
See, every time I hear the word mother in a film, it makes me think of Mommy Dearest, and that film creeped me out, man.
That's what I thought too.
It creeped me the fuck out.
Yeah. I think Mother was more similar to Rosemary's Baby. It definitely had a Rosemary's Baby vibe, and I liked that.
Yeah, Raising Arizona, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Is that Lynch? I think it's Lynch.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an incredible movie, though. The makeup was incredible. The pace of the film was really interesting to me, because it went from kind of like slow and curious to just like a whirlwind of things going on, to where you're watching.
I might check it out just to see if there's substance to Jennifer Lawrence, because she does such throwaway roles.
Oh yeah,
like literally, like every film I've ever seen her in, it's like a paper cut role with like substance to it.
And she in her role for Mother, I think that
it's like basically, look, I'm Jennifer Lawrence, I'm hot, I've got nice tits. Yeah.
She definitely wasn't like that in this role.
I mean, that's pretty much what she does in almost every film I've seen her in,
Yeah, no, she's got a lot of
super heroine type films, and she's interesting in the interviews, but the films I've seen her in are all just kind of like not memorable.
Yeah, and
this one's memorable.
It was very different than
It is. So I'll check it out, because I mean, in interviews she seems like there's some intriguing things to her personality and some substance, but it just, in the films she's either taken or been handed to her or whatever, it's all about I'm Jennifer Lawrence, I'm super hot.
Yeah, no sexualization to her in that movie at all, which I appreciated a lot. It was
like she did what, X-Men, and then she did like with what's his name, in space or whatever, the guy from Galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy. They wake up from like a coma.
Chris Pratt.
Huh?
Chris Pratt.
Yeah. And it's just like basically I'm a hot girl. Yeah. But I'll watch it, because I always felt like if you ever watch her do interviews, that there's like some layers to her. But
it's a hard movie to watch. Just as a heads up, definitely a hard movie to watch.
Everyone
so was the original what was it, Linda Blair, what is it,
The
Exorcist. Oh my god, I saw that when I was like 6. I had nightmares for like weeks.
Yeah, very different and hard to watch. Mother is more
about abuse. I'm assuming abuse. It's more about abuse.
It's really like, you can't really even define it, because it's like the whole thing is set in a world that you think makes sense at the beginning, but then you realize is just completely abstract.
Oh, it's like a psychotic break through the movie or something.
Kind of, yeah. It's like a clusterfuck at the end. I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but that's exactly what it is. It's just like everything just like pulls together, and it's just like falling apart at the same time. It's hard to explain.
Okay, so what we're going to do is first we're going to do Mark's question. Mark, what question do you have?
What got you into your job? Like what
your
happened?
Dream.
Yeah, what happened to get you where you are at right now? Like what?
Mark, you got to choose someone. We got to work on your choose someone. Otherwise,
Oh, this
you
is for
don't know
both.
which who you're talking.
Lintu, what got you into your
Makeup effect.
Yeah, makeup effects. What made you want to get into makeup effects?
Was Barbie doll just too plain and you had to fuck with it and add scars and stuff? Or
That basically, yeah. So when I was 6, I watched Hellraiser for the first time.
I remember that. That was scary, the original one.
Yeah, and
Pinhead.
it kind of went from there.
I think it followed Nightbreed, right? Nightbreed was right before it, and then they did Hellraiser.
Yeah, yeah. And I hid behind my parents' couch and I watched it without their permission. And I loved it. And so as I grew up, you know, I was the goth kid or whatever and all that kind of stuff. And
That's shocking. I wouldn't believe that.
shaved head and tattoos, you wouldn't even imagine.
No, I've seen your photos. I'm kidding.
Yeah. And then I started working at haunted houses when I was about 18 and like dabbling in some makeup effects stuff before then. And it was fun to me making people feel things, you know, whether it be uncomfortable or in awe or, you know, making their dreams come to life or their nightmares. Like that's such a cool feeling. And yeah, it's been that way ever since. It's literally about making people's dreams come true.
So you're about to be a contestant on Face Off, right?
I was actually supposed to be on season 2 and I had to decline, unfortunately. So way back in the day.
All right,
Yeah, I like that show to a certain degree. There's certain episodes I've liked, certain seasons I've liked. It's creative stuff.
It's very reality TV. I like to call it keeping up with the Kardashians of makeup effects.
Yeah, there's very staged stuff going on. And
Oh yeah, for sure.
there are some people that should not have been invited, and I think they were invited just to kind of like be hard on them.
Yeah, add flavor to it for sure. And there's some amazing people on there too that I'm really good friends with.
There is, yeah, and then but you can tell that every season they choose one or two whose skill sets are nowhere near everyone else's, and
they're the winner.
yeah. But anyway,
right,
okay,
Roger,
so
next.
Roger, the Mark's question to you.
Right. I mean, I think I wanted to start directing films when I was in high school. I think, you know, it was sort of late 90s and indie film was sort of becoming popular, you know, and it seemed like this might be a viable career path. So I went to school and at the time I was getting like also really political and I would like watch CNN and stuff and I'd be like yelling at the TV and really not constructive, you know? So I started like putting that energy into documentaries because it was like really accessible. I could just get a camera and go out and like, you know, for me,
Talk to people.
Right, talk to people. I was doing a lot of interviews with people at anti-war protests. This was in the run-up to the Iraq War. So I think that, you know, really like shaped me as a filmmaker. Once, you know, I sort of done documentary for 15 years or so, I finally had an opening a few years ago and dusted off the script I started writing in high school and, you know, just sort of felt like it was now or never with Huckleberry. And
Do you know Del Weston?
I do not know. No, I don't.
Okay, I'm going to intro you to Del Weston. He's the guy that put me on the map. He owns and runs Action on Film Festival, which is was the second largest festival in LA. And then 2 years ago they moved to Vegas because they wanted to be the king of the heat. So they're now the biggest, and now they call it AOF Mega Fest because there's actually 7 festivals they run under that umbrella now. But big supporter of Dreamers, and he's the one that gave me my first film award 5 years ago. And I'm going to intro you to him, and I want you to somehow get him some of your work or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think he's a big believer in real. He loves real people with real dreams that are putting work in, and he'll bend over backwards to help you. You know what I mean? So I'll when we get done with this show, I'll friend suggest him to you, and then I'll send a note to him.
Okay.
Cool. Anyway, that's cool, man. You got to chase your dreams, and that's what this show is about. Dreamers talking to dreamers. You got to pursue dreams. The reason I did this show is because I'm not just some comedian that decides I want to be a talk host or whatever it is I'm a filmmaker myself. I'm an artist myself and a writer. And I felt like there's no better way of getting good stuff out of other artists than when they're talking to an artist, as opposed to just someone with a talk show or whatever. It reminds me a lot of Director's Chair when Rodriguez, I love that. If you've never seen it on El Rey Network, when Rodriguez sits down with all these huge Del Toro and huge directors, and there you got Robert Rodriguez interviewing Del Toro, interviewing John Carpenter, interviewing all these things, and it's to me that series he did was fascinating to watch because I think they say things to him that they wouldn't have said if they were talking to, like, you know, ETV interview person or whatever, you know what I mean? So but that's awesome. Okay, so let's bring up the thing that I was going to bring up earlier, and then I decided it would be better in this half. What is your guys' opinion on this, like, complete and utter bias by the Oscars that has gone on since the beginning of the Oscars, that no genre films, i.e. Action, sci-fi, straight comedy, ever win Best Picture, or ever nominated for Best Picture, or ever nominated for Best Overall Writer, Best Overall Director? They're always, all those films are always only niched. You know, they might win Best Effects, but they're always niched as far as the main things: writing, directing, acting, into their niche. Like Best Actor in a Comedy, Best Actor in a Sci-Fi. None of those films ever get any nods to the main ones of Best Actor period, Best Writer period, Best Director period. So what are your thoughts? Am I delusional? Do you agree that that's the way it works? And if so, what are your opinions on it? We'll start with we started with LIntu on Mark's question, so we'll start with Roger.
Okay, sure. I have a couple takes on that, I guess. I think Get Out would be a really good example of a genre film not winning, although it was nominated for Best Picture. So, I mean, I think that is a step in the right direction. But I feel like Get Out is going to have, you know, not to kick off a big argument, debate here, but I think Get Out is going to.
Well, they've gotten more in the last couple of years. I'll give them that. They've gotten a little more open.
I think Get Out has,
also because all the crap that Oscars have been getting.
Right, but I think Get Out had a much bigger impact on the culture than The Shape of Water did. I think that's almost irrefutable.
But I mean, okay, perfect example. We talked about it. Perfect example is The Big Lebowski.
Right.
I have people that still quote that film, and that was like 15 years ago, like 20 years ago.
Well, I think, you know, some films, like, it's not the Oscars where they're going to be best appreciated, and especially a cult classic like Lebowski.
Yeah, but I mean, that was beautiful writing,
you have to see Lebowski,
beautiful directing, beautiful acting.
All true, but you have to see that movie 2 times before you get it. So I don't think anybody was on anybody's radar.
Hey, I've seen King's Speech like twice, and I don't get it at all. I kept falling asleep.
It's not brilliant like Lebowski is. I mean, Lebowski's unique in that way. But back to the Academy Awards. I mean, I think my other take on that, though, is that, you know, as an independent filmmaker, it's much easier to get greenlit on a genre film, on a comedy or a horror film, than it is to get greenlit.
Yeah, but it's kind of a catch-22 because those character studies you're referencing, the ones that tend to win a lot, those kind of pictures, those are studio-backed films that specifically create those films to push an actor they're trying to push, or push a director they're trying to push, some awards and notoriety more for their studio. I mean, they're specifically making those films to not make money, but to win awards. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't disagree with you. I just think that drama is it's stuck in a tough position right now, because it's either like you make a drama with the big stars and you make it, you know, for the Oscars, or you're really like,
or you make a genre
territory if you make a drama, you know, just on the basis of it's a good film, because it could be a great film and might never get picked up. Whereas you're safer.
I mean, I'm not saying those films shouldn't win awards, but I'm just saying in throughout the history of cinema, I don't like the fact that if it's a genre film, they immediately go, it is not allowed to win. It almost seems like they say it's not allowed to win. It's not allowed to be in these categories. I mean, I think recently you're seeing some change finally.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you.
To do with that, Oscar got so many black eyes. They're getting punched in the face for the stupid crap they were doing. That they're just trying to do. They're only doing it to appease, to stop the backlash from keep hitting them.
I agree with. I think that there should be a lot of reforms to what goes into the decision of what best picture is. So.
Yeah, I just think it should be based on, it doesn't matter what genre, it should be based on writing, how good the writing is, how good the acting is, and how good the cinematography directing is. And whoever the best of that is, regardless of whether it's a drama or it's a comedy or it's whatever it is, they should all have equal opportunity to win the best awards. And I think what it comes down to is the people that are making the decisions on who's getting nominated. That needs to change.
Above my pay grade, but I agree with you. I think definitely needs to be opened up.
Yeah, so like the 70-year-old guys that never actually made a film themselves can kind of take a seat, relax, pull the pipe out, and have some coffee, pour some bourbon in it. And then let some of the younger, more creative females and males and all that kind of stuff that their peers actually make some choices. But LIntu, your thoughts?
So I personally, maybe it's just because I'm a little bit jaded, but I think the reason behind that is kind of similar to like when you go to an art gallery. It's full of pretentious people who think that they know what they're talking about and know what they specialize in, and it's really not. Because I've seen a lot of films win awards that I don't think that they should have. But at the same time, it's also one of those things that's everything's based on perspective as well. So I don't know. I think it's just because it's, this class of people that are a little bit more pretentious, and they're like, oh, well, this is art. This is what art is supposed to be. Supposed to be, drama and all this.
Well, then it's also like almost everything else. It's also political.
Exactly. Absolutely.
It's like who is the in kid right now, and which studio we're behind right now in their work, and
right. And so I feel like it's a lot of that, and I also feel like people like what they view as like best actor or best film and stuff like that. They always want to make you like feel something that's deeper than what you need to be feeling, because like humor and laughing and like comedy and stuff is, they think of it more as like on the surface, and it doesn't like impact your life. And they're like, oh, here are these movies that are like impactful and will change your life, and these are the ones that need to win. And
I think really, really great comedy is difficult to write, so I don't know why. And it's difficult to act and pull off because it's about timing. Now, granted, there's exceptions to that. You have like Apatow, who I've been on a film set, with film sets, and literally the guy doesn't even write dialogue. He has like the joke of the scene, and then he shoots it like 60 effing times, and while his actors are ad-libbing till he gets something funny. But I mean, he has the budget to do it, but I'm like, wow, that's not a lot of art going on there. Almost anybody could sit there and take each scene and shoot it 65 times and come up with something funny, I guess. But
I think there needs to be more like suspense and more sci-fi winning things like that too. Especially for like best picture, because it takes so much to go into those type of films that I don't understand why a lot of them get snubbed so much. So
yeah, I don't understand it, because I think it's because we talked about is old Hollywood forever and a day was controlled by old money.
Mm-hmm.
They have these preconceptions that came down through their family, that it has to be super highbrow and comparable with Shakespeare and comparable with like an opera and comparable with I can watch this film with a martini glass in my hand with my pinky raised.
Right. Or who's kissing?
You know what I mean? It has to it goes back to the aristocracy. And you know, like, why did they even come up with martini glasses? Because rich people can't just do shots. So let's put 2 shots in a fucking pretty little glass and sip it, and we'll put a martini instead of us just downing 2 shots of vodka.
Yeah. It's all about the money. It's about, like I said, who's kissing whose ass, who's rubbing elbows with this person, and it's all politics. And I think that's totally.
I think that's why their boat is so I think they're right now in state of shock, which is why the producers finally got nailed for all the stuff they've been doing, and they're in a state of shock because of Netflix and because of Amazon and because of indie films and because of Netflix. Really, it was the key that they threw everybody on upside down and actually sent A&R reps to. They don't do it so much anymore, but in the beginning, they were sending AR reps to festivals and having no-namers who just had great content and saying, we're not having any red ropes, we're not having any, you got to be cousins to this person, or well, all we care about is making great product that makes us money, and we're going to go out and find it. And that kind of threw, I think, old school Hollywood on its head, because they held the keys to the kingdom since the beginning of, like, you're only allowed in if we allow you in.
And Netflix is pulling from everywhere too. I mean, just look at like Black Mirror and the Bandersnatch movie and stuff like that too.
I mean, they're kind of slowing down heavily because I think they have almost too much product now. But
yeah, too many shows that are only on season 1 and haven't come out with season.
Yeah, I think they're overwhelmed with way too much. So they're not. Most of the festivals I knew that were like for year after year, you were seeing Netflix reps there are now not there because they're kind of like, okay, hold on, we're like, you get like stacks of like 8,000 scripts we're supposed to read. You know what I mean?
I mean, but if it's good, it's good though, and they've been producing so much good stuff. It's hard for them to slow down.
True, I mean, but it doesn't really matter because you have other ones picking up the slack. You know, have like Hulu and Amazon and even Yahoo failed miserably, but they tried to get it their the Arrested Development like thing going, but that was horrible because they had such a low budget. They had to bring the actors in one at a time, and they had to talk to a green screen. They couldn't afford to have all the actors on a set at once.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that have been trying to do that. PlayStation Network has their own show.
Yeah, they had that superhero one, Power. Is that what it is? Yeah, I actually liked it. I thought it was for PlayStation doing it. It was verge almost rated R. It was almost rated R, and there was parts of it that were kind of rated R-ish. So I thought for PS4 doing it, that was pretty risque and edgy.
Absolutely.
But I give big kudos to, when we talked about this last week, I give big kudos to like stuff like Watchmen, then Deadpool, then Logan, showing that that there's a giant audience for edgy rated R action superhero type stuff, and it doesn't all need to be like oriented towards kids to like make money.
Yeah, except for everybody thought Deadpool was a kids movie, and then when the kids show up, they're like, "Oh, wait a second."
You mean it's rated R, like it says it's rated R?
Yeah.
Like it said the whole time, rated R, rated R. I don't. Like, and I remember what's his name doing like infomercials online, going, "Hey, yeah, you guys, like the rated R is really rated R, so parents quit bringing your like 10-year."
Yeah, and yet they still do this. They still do it.
Yeah, because the kid doesn't mention it's rated R. They just go, "Man, there's a new superhero film out called Deadpool. Take me to it, Mom." And they're like, "What? Oh, sure."
Superhero, no problem.
And they're like, "Wait, he's got a small hand and he's talking about masturbating."
Just think of all the difficult conversations you can get over, you know, in one car ride home.
Yeah, birds and bees out of the way, buddy.
Just throw them in the fire.
Yeah. See, when you have a little 2-year-old baby hand and you have a full adult-sized man. And then the lady's blind, so there's the funny part. Yeah. But anyway.
Deadpool,
but I give big kudos to those films, and I think it started with Actually, it started way back when they did an animated, you guys are probably too young, but they did an animated rated R feature that had a limited release called Fire and Ice that had breasts and action. And my father took me to it, and I think it was the early 80s. And it was called Fire and Ice. And it was an animated feature that was actually the first I've ever heard of in the US that was rated R. And then later on, Heavy Metal came out.
Saw Heavy Metal.
Oh,
I love Heavy Metal.
Yeah, Heavy Metal came out about 6-7 years after that. But before that, Fire and Ice came out to a very limited review. A lot of people, cult following, loved it. But of course, the critics and the right-wing Christians all went ape shit nuts because it was an animated film that was rated R with boobs. And then 5-6 years later, Heavy Metal came out. But I give big kudos to Watchmen, who proved it that you can make a great film that had action in it and rated R, that wasn't like a horror film or whatever, and had big studio money behind it, and it was rated R and had giant blue penises all over the place. You know,
I haven't seen it.
It did well. Critics loved it, and it was great acting, great writing. It was a little slow in parts for me, but there was definitely brilliant cinematography, brilliant writing, brilliant acting. And then you had Deadpool come out. The first one I thought was brilliant. The second one was trying way too hard, but kind of like it makes me feel kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, where Guardians of the Galaxy was really original. The first one, really original humor, and then all of a sudden they made money on it, and so the studio execs jumped in and said, "I want you to do exactly that, but more of that." And then you see it in the next film where it's like the first film, I think they had total free blanche to do it, whatever their artistic vision was, because it was kind of a write-off, like by Marvel, we'll see, just don't do it, and it makes money, whatever. And then as soon as it becomes a blockbuster, all of a sudden all the accountants come in and go, "Okay, it made us money. Now you're gonna do more, that to the 10th degree. Instead of something different and original, you're gonna go replicate exactly that." Mm-hmm. Sorry, you guys, I get passionate about these these things, man. What'd you say?
I said that's
I said
okay.
you're not wrong, honestly, because I mean, working at because Pinewood, where I teach at, is where they film all the Marvel movies at. And honestly,
they film everything where you're at, man. Like, oh my God, you're gonna next tell me like the Little Rascals were originally filmed there, and the Three Stooges did their first like multiple person slap on the face there.
Boris Karloff, I actually taught him everything he knew. So yeah.
Oh, really? Great film, and it was I think it was the last one Boris Karloff ever was in, and it was him. And think of this lineup at the time; it was late '60s. Vincent Price, Boris Karloff, and Peter Lorre, all in one film. And at the time, those were the three kings of horror.
Oh yeah.
It was called The Raven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were all at
special effects for the time period were insanely good, man.
Yeah.
It was Vincent Price and Boris Karloff. Vincent Price was the good wizard, and Boris Karloff was the evil sorcerer, and Peter Lorre was the dumbass little kind of goofy warlock that was like being manipulated by both of them. And then, and Peter Lorre, he's like the Marty Feldman before Marty Feldman. He's the guy with the huge eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a great film. And at the very end, Vincent Price and Boris Karloff have a giant sorcerer battle while they're both sitting in these chairs floating in midair. And, they're throwing little energy axes at each other where Vincent Price is making a little shield and stopping it. And
well, now I know it's on my movie watching list. I'm going to have
yeah, I mean, if you like old movies and you want to see those three guys who are all like in their heyday, brilliant people. And for the time period, late 60s, the special effects was like mind-boggling for that time period.
Oh, I'm sure.
But it was a great film. At one point, someone was saying Keanu Reeves was going to do a remake of it, but I don't know if that ever went. That was like 6-7 years ago, and I don't know if it ever went anywhere.
He's got to make Bill and Ted first.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what we need. I think they should have stopped at 2, man, or 1. The second one, they made that what, like 5-6 years after the first or something like that. And,
They got to complete the trilogy.
yeah.
Like the Matrix.
I'd rather him make the next one of that one he's doing now. What's it?
John Wick.
John Wick. Oh, he's gonna.
Yeah,
do
there
it
you go.
forever. That train's gonna keep chugging along for sure.
Yeah, because with the last one, it ends with him like being chased by every single assassin in the entire world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to go find a dog, and then he's got to kick everybody's ass.
Spoiling it for me because I haven't seen any of them.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
They're fun.
I think there are certain actors that if you put them in the right environment, they're very brilliant at it. If you have Keanu Reeves looking studly and only talking in very small sentences, not very often,
Monosyllabic.
stoic, he is brilliant. And put a bunch of action in there, he's a brilliant guy. Same thing with like a Schwarzenegger. If you don't have him talk a lot and he does little one-liners and
Just don't put him opposite Dustin Hoffman ever again. And
yeah, well, this is the problem I had with Aquaman because I think Jason Momoa is one of those guys who I've loved in several things. When he doesn't like that Frontier, I thought he was good that he did. And there's films I liked him in where he does the same thing, where he doesn't talk a lot. He does like his dialogue is like one sentence before like someone responds. And then he looks stoic and he looks like, and even the first Justice League, they kind of had him do that where he didn't talk a lot. He had like one-liners and comedic stuff going on and looking like a badass and all that kind of stuff. And then they made Aquaman where they made him like doing these long-ass monologues and trying to be emotionally vulnerable. And I was like, oh my God, dude, stop, man. That's Jason Momoa, dude. What are you doing?
yeah.
It's just pretty to look at. That's about it for me. Like I've never really been into his acting, and he's a really nice guy. But like,
no, but like Game of Thrones.
yeah.
Khal Drogo, I thought he was great because he barely talked and he just looked menacing. You know what I mean? And
He looked cool. He looked great. Yeah, that was about it for me.
yeah, I mean, but there are actors that are like that, man. I mean, there's just actors. I remember when I was a kid, man, Danny Kaye. If you let him dance, if you let him do his little dance stuff, and you had him kind of like making small lines. I don't know if you know who Danny Kaye is. He's a redheaded guy back in Gene Kelly days. They did a lot of the same kind of movies that Gene Kelly did, but where Gene Kelly could pull off dramatic, Danny Kaye was more like he had to keep it really light and he did it perfect, and it worked for him. There's just some actors like that. They have a little niche that they're really good at. I thought Schwarzenegger has been great in several films when he's just doing Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? Like, I thought the Total Recall was interesting. I thought the first couple of his films were interesting when he's just allowed to do his thing. Same thing with actresses. Juliette Lewis, man, when she's doing her short one-liners like Natural Born Killers, where she's just a vicious, violent fucking woman.
Love her. Mm-hmm.
She's great. When I was trying to see her be the more vulnerable thing, like she was in Dusk to Dawn, I didn't really feel it. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't really fit for me with her. You know what I mean? So, again, it's a perception thing. There's 1,000 roads to Damascus. There's 1,000 opinions. If everyone liked, I think someone said the other day, if everyone liked the same fucking movies, it'd be a boring world.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I think there's very few people that are like a Dustin Hoffman or Anthony Hopkins or people that can like do almost any role and look good and powerful while they're doing it. I mean, there's very few actors, male or female, that can pull. Charlize Theron would be a newer one that I think can probably pull off almost any type of role she wants to do. I've seen her do drama. I've seen her do action. I've seen her do. That's the only thing I haven't seen her do is comedy, really. But I've seen her do heavy, dramatic, long monologue-y type things and pull it off. And then I've seen her do the action where she's just a badass that doesn't talk about it and she pulls that off. So, hey, what is your favorite male and female actor that you would like to work with that you just think is brilliant? We'll start with LIntu and then we'll go to Roger.
Actor. would have to be Doug
Male,
Jones.
one female.
Yeah, Doug Jones for male for sure. For female, honestly, that's really hard. This is gonna sound really bad, but I'm not actually a fan of a lot of female actresses.
That's okay. Because they get pigeonholed and stereotyped a lot by studios, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I am.
The girl from Tank Girl, I forget her name.
Oh yeah. No, she was great too. It's just one of those things where I mostly follow male actors.
I like Sucker Punch too. That was good.
Yeah, it's but like with like
But that girl was like 4'8". Like everyone had to be on their knees whenever she was on set, man.
Yeah. There is a new actress though who is in Haunting of Hill House. If you saw that, she played.
I haven't, no.
Oh.
Girl on Vikings. I think she's brilliant.
Yeah.
Show Vikings. The main Agatha or whatever her name is, the blonde who played the wife of the main Viking guy. That she's now like pretty much the lead of that series.
Yeah.
I forget her name.
Actually.
But she's brilliant in that film or that TV show.
Yeah, I would work with Kathy Bates too. She's somebody that's probably.
She creeps me out, man. Ever since Mercy.
I love that movie.
I would like put a knife in her hand, and I'd be running like back to like Crafty and hiding under the Crafty table, saying, "Is she gone?"
She's just up for so much with makeup when you watch her on like American Horror Story.
But she's a brilliant actress. I mean, she can do anything, dude. You could give her the phone book, and she could creep you out with it. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I think Kathy Bates would be my female one for sure.
Yeah, I think. I mean, to me, horror is her thing. If she does that scary ass horror thing, if she fits that perfectly, because she has a straight face that she can like keep this and just sound menacing. But anyway, Roger, what about for you?
Off the top of my head, I really like that show Ozark, and I was watching that a lot when I was.
I watched season 1. I haven't watched season 2 yet.
Oh, it's really good. And Laura Linney would be my answer to the first part of that question, just because I love her on that show so much. And I think she's just a great actor anyway. And then talking about Mother got me thinking about Javier Bardem. And
Yeah, No Country
that guy.
for Old
I
Men.
watched that guy.
Isn't that the guy from No Country for Old Men?
Yeah, precisely. Exactly.
The guy that plays the villain, the main.
Yeah.
No Country for Old Men. Yeah, that guy's creepy. Is
yeah. So I mean, you put him in a movie, and I'll probably go see it. So.
See, I always make a joke at my work that my owner should pay for a little Frenchman in a beret to follow me around with a parasol. But that guy is the opposite of the kind of Frenchman I'm talking about, man.
Yeah.
That guy is scary. Like I want 80 bodyguards around me if that guy's going to be on set.
Yeah.
No, he has that look in his eyes, dude, that he can do. That's just like, holy crap, man.
Very intense actor. Just
me, it's the Big Lebowski. If you're talking males, I would love to have Bridges in one of my films.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he is brilliant. I grew up with him from Tron all the way up. We'll forgive him that movie he made with his brother about a piano player, but still, the guy's brilliant, and I would love to work with that guy in a film. And then females, what would be a female?
Female's hard
to work with. I love the girl from Sucker Punch, but you'd have to get her a stepladder, man. So, no, literally, I worked on another film with her, and literally, like, I almost didn't see her. I turned my head. I was like, "Oh, hey!" Literally, she's like tiny.
That's how JD is with me. When he first met me.
Stop. Mark is actually like 6'8", man. He just doesn't.
5'3".
Yeah. Anyway, but his other half are very cute. No, come on. There's got to be a. You know who I loved before she got she did the Hollywood plastic surgery thing. The girl from Underworld.
Kate Beckinsale.
And then she went in the last couple films. She went and had her face all done, and I'm like, man, just You were a beautiful woman. There was nothing wrong with you. Don't leave it alone, man. Why do you got to go do all that? You know, same thing with Stallone. Just grow gracefully old, bro. He did the what was it? The what was the one? The ones he's been doing with all the old school action heroes are in them. I forget that. Whatever. It's what where he's been doing. It's like number 3. I think he's done. But I wish it's nothing wrong with going gracefully old, like Helen Mirren, man. That lady's beautiful, beautiful spirit, beautiful intelligence, beautiful woman for her age.
I think Natalie Portman's been doing.
Lady, what's that lady? What's her name? Lady. She has the lady in her thing. She's from Bond. Dench.
Judi Dench.
Dame Judi
Yes,
Dench.
Judi Dench, man. Absolutely beautiful spirit, beautiful older lady. Beautiful actress, brilliant actress. I wouldn't mind working with her, and then I wouldn't mind. I think she's passed now, but the lady that Where's the Beef? You remember that? Where's the beef?
She was like 80 when that commercial aired, so yeah, she's probably gone.
Yeah, I think she's gone now. But you know, or I'd like to dig up the kid that is Mikey. Ask Mikey. Mikey loves everything. Because come on, that was like the early '80s, but he was like 6. He might still be around.
That's true.
Yeah, and that commercial
right
back then, dude. If there was a commercial that was popular, it literally ran for like a decade.
True.
Like a decade. Like you saw the same damn commercial of Ask Mikey. Mikey like it. Mikey likes everything. Literally from the age of like 4 to the age of like 12, 13, 14, they were still running that commercial. But anyway, well, you guys, this has been an awesome show, unbelievable show. You guys are amazing guests. I know that both of you have big things in your future. You're both very brilliant and talented, and you're going to accomplish all of the things you want to accomplish. I'm going to do what I always do at the end of the show. I'm going to have you give advice to a young you. So give advice to someone that's young, that's just beginning in your field. Give them advice on them trying to accomplish what you've accomplished in that same path. We'll start with Roger, and then we'll end with LIntu.
I would say take some marketing classes because you're going to need them, and learn how to network and
Branding.
Do all the stuff that isn't filmmaking that is 100% necessary towards succeeding in your endeavors. So that would be it.
And you mean marketing and also paying attention to your brand, that you're a brand.
Yeah, all of it. I mean, just the fact that, I think there's perception when you're, learning your craft that you just have to learn your craft. But as a director, it doesn't really work that way. You have to put yourself out there. You have to sell your art. And that's not something that I think.
Yeah, it doesn't do you any good if all your films stay in a closet.
Exactly. So, just deal with it. Younger me.
Yeah.
And
it's tough, man.
It's
tough. It's tough. It's tough out on the streets being a pimp, man.
It's tough out there for a director or a producer and anyone trying to do anything creative in this industry, for sure. So I'm sure.
For those of you who don't know it, I'm making a reference to Hustle and Flow, an Oscar award-winning film. I'm not just talking about being a pimp for no reason. Anyway,
well, like you said, I gotta protect my brand. So
yeah, brand. Yes, in the end, you are a brand, and that is what your investors are actually. When you get into the bigger game, that is what your investors want to see, and that is what they are buying. So you have to do the things that build up that brand. Not just shoot a film and throw it out there. You have to make yourself a diversified entity.
Correct.
LIntu, now you. Talking to a young LIntu. And she's getting her 3rd tattoo and has her goth eyes on.
This is a good one. I'd probably have to say never put people before your career. because people are temporary, and your love and your passions for your career are always going to be there.
Are you saying I'm temporary, LIntu?
Everything is temporary. Life is temporary. That's the
Yep.
Gotham coming out.
Okay, you guys, hold on one second. I'm going to go kill myself, and I'll be right back. Hold on.
I'm glad I had that influence on you. You're welcome.
I mean, granted, I'm going to use a stunt double, hence why I can come back after killing myself. But still,
That's what makeup effects are.
my stunt double is probably not going to be coming back from this.
But yeah, I would have to say definitely that, because you may choose a person, you know, over taking a really good job when it's not really something that was meant to be, and then you end up losing out on that opportunity. So,
You know what? That is it. That I'm going to end it with this. It's a brilliant subject, and we're going to write this down because we'll do it next week too. Please tell me, I'm going to be, once I find success, I'm going to be the champion of this, of stamping down this eggshell walk, oversensitive, over PC world that for some reason we keep effing catering to. They're like, it's ruining art that we are so worried about anybody and walking around. Instead, how about this? Toughen up. Get thicker skin. Okay? If you have a valid beef, I'll listen and I'll apologize if I did something wrong. But it's your weight to carry if you were over coddled and not taught any like consequences or hardships and learn how to toughen your skin as a kid. I am sorry for you. I apologize. Go have a counseling session with your parents. I don't care. But quit projecting that eggshell oversensitivity towards the world. It is not their weight to carry. You have to be able to occasionally take some off-color humor, some off-color edge. That is how great art is created. It has an edge, whether it be humor or comedy or drama or horror or whatever it is. The epitome of great art is going to offend people. Get over it, toughen up, grow the F up. And no offense to all the beautiful ladies out there, but take your little girl skirts off.
That's why I wear pants on.
I was raised by all strong women, so don't get that wrong, man. I was raised by women that I never wanted to get hit by because they hit harder than anybody I know. So, but again, as a metaphoric society, can we take our little kid sensitivities off and start behaving like grown adults? One last thought from both of you guys on that subject.
Wow. You know, I think it's just, let's just put a lot of different people and ideas out there, and, you know, stop like pigeonholing people into very narrow categories, and we'll have a much broader representation for real human life. So to that end, I agree.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, in today's world, there would have never been a Richard Pryor or an Eddie Murphy or these people that taught us so much about, like, they were the progenitors of bringing conscious thought about racism and about all of those things. And if they did not do all those off-color, edgy, piss a bunch of people off humor, you wouldn't have opened up all those dialogues that they opened up that led to greater knowledge. You know what I mean? So it's
I think that's true, but I think there's also the risk of just picking on. I think there's also the risk of just picking on marginalized groups of people. And
yeah, I mean, I get it. If they do something way overboard, I get it. Call them out on it. But what I'm seeing now is so oversensitive. Like, no one's allowed to be offended. No one's allowed to have their feelings heard. That's part of life, man. You know, it's part of life to have your feelings hurt. It's a learning lesson. It's teaching you how to try to toughen up and not take things so inwardly, especially from people that have no influence in your life except the influence you're handing them. You know what I mean? So if you don't like what someone says, walk the other direction and talk to someone else. That's my theory. If I don't like a filmmaker, I don't watch his films. I don't run around trying to tell the entire planet to not watch his films. You know what I mean? I got better things to do. I'm not that worried about it. But anyway, to your last thoughts, and then we're calling it a day and calling it a whatever, and then I'm going to walk outside and be assassinated by all the oversensitive people I just insulted.
So,
but again, I feel bad because it's going to be fried out there. So,
I personally think as long as something is not considered hateful, and by that I agree with the marginalized groups and things like that, as long as it's not a direct blow at someone's race or sexuality.
Well, and I think it's also intent. Intent is very important as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Is definitely intent is something that should be looked at, because I joke around with friends all the time. I joke around with colleagues or strangers about certain things, and it's about the intent of the joke. Where you're going at. If you're being hateful and cruel or racist or homophobic, that's when it becomes a line that's being drawn, and not out of a sensitivity thing, but it just shows that you're just a shitty person. But if you're
but my thing is, then fine, they're a shitty person, but I don't need to go and try to find a coalition of 100,000 people that then try to take away their entire livelihood because they made one joke that made them look like a shitty person.
Right, like what's his name who did Guardian?
You know what I mean? That's the difference. Is you know what? He seems like a shitty person. I'm not going to go watch his film.
Right.
But I'm not going to turn around and go, I need to now form a coalition of 100,000 people that all say that they are going to boycott everything he does unless you fire him.
Right. Yeah, what was it, Kevin Hart recently? They unearthed.
Yeah, and he from a comedy skit a decade ago.
Yeah, and it was some homophobic joke that wasn't even really that homophobic. It wasn't.
All he said was he was talking about his son.
Yeah.
The son started playing with dollhouses. He would kick his ass. That was a joke.
Yeah. So I mean, it was the joke. Meh, whatever. It's not a big deal. But for the fact is, that was years ago. He even apologized for it. So for them to make him step down.
And I think anyone, if you went through all their internet history and went through all their tweets and private messages and all that kind of stuff, everybody has made a dumbass comment.
Yeah, I'm very liberal, and if you went back on my Facebook, you'd probably find some shit on there too. So, it is what it is, and times have changed. So I think some jokes that maybe were acceptable 10 years ago maybe wouldn't be today. Just about how the world is now, but it's definitely one of those things that intent is going to be the number one thing when it comes.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, man. I love you all the people that are watching. I want everybody to succeed. I want everybody to fulfill their dreams and aspirations and all of those things. I just think we are become way oversensitive, way too much of an eggshell walk. In the end, it will art when you try to stifle or filter art through some PC machine. Now, granted, I don't think that's happening yet, and you have stuff like Deadpool and other really edgy films coming out that show that they're not stopping to make, they're not making stuff because they're worried about it, but still, lay low. Smoke a joint, whatever the hell it is, relax a bit, take less insult by people. And what I've always said to everybody, man, is people only have the power that you hand them. So people have no meaning to you unless you let them have meaning to you. So, keep on keeping on, as Joe Dirt would say.
The front.
Big love out to Joe Dirt, man, because we got to all keep on keeping on here at StormCrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers. Thanks to Mark, thanks to my guests, and thanks to Lola. Keep dreaming. See you.